So let's continue.
We're at the Texas Libertarian Party State Convention in San Antonio, and I just wanted to talk with you a little bit about an interview you did recently. And
yeah, which one was that?
It was with Mike Shanklin.
Oh yeah, Mike. So that was a fascinating interview because it had been a long time since he had interviewed me.
Mm-hmm. You touched on social justice warriors,
yeah.
You touched on Trump, you touched on left libertarianism,
yeah.
And also you talked about some of your views, how they've evolved over time, or just being willing to reconsider certain things.
I mentioned a few things in particular that I've actually... it's hard to say I've changed my mind, but some things I've developed a more refined position on.
Did you develop a more refined position on the sweaty ethnics there, Jeffrey? Did you develop a more refined position on the blacks who stopped rioting to pick up their welfare checks there, Jeffrey? Is that what your more refined position on?
One has been on intellectual property. That was a big change for me because that issue I hadn't thought about for a long time. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but you sometimes confront an issue and you're not sure what you think, so you decide not to think about it.
Yeah.
That was the way it was for me in intellectual property. So eventually I came around, I thought hard about it, and then I experienced this kind of mental revolution because it's a lot of implications to that whole issue of intellectual property. And it changed a lot of my views on things. About the value of ideas, their structure and their nature. So that was awesome. And it's really cool to learn something new.
Do you think libertarians sometimes, libertarian anarchists, everybody's sort of within this milieu of our movement, maybe have an aversion to, admitting, okay, maybe I'm ready to revisit my ideas or my ideas evolve?
I think you make a good point there, and I think it's really unfortunate because like Hayek teaches us that none of us can know everything, that we all have, knowledge is dispersed. The knowledge that makes the world work doesn't belong to any one of us, really, consciously, certainly not. We know about our time and place, and we know about the areas we specialize in, but that's exciting to not know something because it means that you have a potentially infinite number of intellectual adventures ahead of you in life. So I like that idea. To me, that's really exciting. To come to terms with your absence of knowledge is actually not scary. It's actually something that's exciting because it means you can always learn more. So another area that I guess I changed my mind on slightly was, it was the issue of immigration, which I remember getting a pushback on that because I was free immigration in college, but I got a pushback at it in young adulthood. And I decided not to think about it, for another 20 years. But then the more recent issues, with Trump's nativism and the way he was able to stand in front of an audience and just push people's buttons and make them believe we had some terrible immigration crisis, even though immigration is practically banned in this country. And that's a lot of the reason for the illegals. But he was able to manipulate people. And I thought, you know what? I need to, own this issue. Mm-hmm. So I really spent a lot of time researching it, and it was exciting. And I realized that free immigration, or free migration, or free association is an essential principle of liberalism. And
it is an essential premise of modern liberalism. No question about it, Jeffrey. You want to be a fucking liberal, be open borders. Be open borders there, Jeff. Go ahead. If you want to be a liberal, you want to be all about the liberalism. In 2016, that has a connotation which it didn't always have. So if you are all about the liberalism, Jeff, that'll work out fine for you being open borders. If you want to be a libertarian, well, you're going to have to learn a couple of things. But he's going to talk about that in just a second.
I'm not sure I had understood that before, so that was exciting for me.
So there's been a number of libertarians who are revisiting immigration, and some are saying, well, Rothbard had this position, or Hoppe had this position.
Let me just say something about Murray's position on free immigration. First of all, he was a dedicated free immigrationist for 40 years of his career, and that's documented everywhere. He writes about it in For New Liberty, he writes about it in Libertarian Forum. Sometimes he would excommunicate his friends from libertarianism for pulling back slightly, on the free migration position. And so Murray was dedicated to free immigration. There's only one place or two maybe in the last couple of years of his life where he stepped into it slightly in ways that I think are really regrettable.
So what is actually happening here, Jeff, is what you're sort of pointing out, is that Murray started off in his libertarianism as being an open borders guy, and as he grew the fuck up and learned and thought about what implication that had, his position changed. What you just got done saying, oh, we learn things as we go forward. Well, Murray learned things as he went forward. And you knew about this back when you were with the fucking Mises Institute there, Jeff. And then you left the Mises Institute, you went to go get some money to start Liberty.me, and all of a sudden you were a left-wing fucking social justice warrior and all about the open borders.
Pulled back from his free migration position. And, you know, I was with him at the time. In fact, I published that paper in which he did that. And it's funny that I didn't even, at the time I published it, I was unaware of the significance of it. But now I look back and I think, wow, you know, to have changed your mind on such a fundamental issue as that. Something tells me, though, that if Murray were around, of course you can't know, right? But if he could see the way demagogues like Trump are allying with like white supremacists, nationalists, the alt-right, the neo-reactionaries, and even, you know, like dangerous elements of right-wing statism, authoritarianism, you know, in the name of anti-immigration, he might have changed again. You know,
I highly fucking doubt that there, Jeff. We read on here right-wing populism a few episodes back, or many episodes back. I'm half tempted to do it again, but we're not going to do it. Where he said he was praising David fucking Duke there, Jeffrey, and you're aware of that. You know, this is why, you know, some of these people who just don't understand, I despise them, but I don't necessarily assign devious intent to them. He fucking knows better, all right? Jeffrey Tucker knows that Murray Rothbard wrote right-wing populism. Jeffrey Tucker knows that Rothbard would not be on this social justice warrior faggotry bandwagon of, yeah, what we need is more fucking Syrians, please. Absolutely goddamn not. He would look at this and say, this is an existential threat to our existence, and we have the right to goddamn defend ourselves. And for him to say that Murray would change his tune on that is to spit on Murray Rothbard's fucking grave. And you're a piece of shit, Jeffrey Tucker.
I don't know. I think he might have reverted to his... Murray was, after all, a libertarian. And there's something very weird about libertarians being allied with you know, just open authoritarians and nationalists and really white supremacists.
I feel like, in my analysis of seeing the rise of...
Let me throw out all of these keywords that are going to trigger my left-wing buddies. Oh, nationalist, right-wing, white supremacist, racist. What does that mean? What are you saying? Are you making an argument, or are you throwing out a bunch of fucking epithets that you expect to heighten your cause? Because it's not an argument there, Jeff.
Trump, really watching since he put up the Newsweek article. Everybody went on Newsweek, feature on Newsweek, calling Trump a fascist and kind of seeing the policies that were coming, and now he's really lived up to that.
Yeah, yes. Well, it's funny, Derek, because I had seen this, when I was at Freedom Fest, and last June, because he was speaking.
He spoke in Vegas.
Yeah, and as he began talking, I just, the books we read affect us, and I love this book from 1944, Omnipotent Government by Mises. It's a big attack on the Nazis, but he lays out Nazi cultural theory, economic theory, political propaganda, and he does it very systematically on the first page all the way up to the end. And I love the book, but I wasn't around then, so everything I kind of know about that, I learned from that book. So I'm standing there in front of Trump, and suddenly it was like Trump had used this book as a template, and it was like so obvious to me what he was doing. He was taking a kind of a syndicalist-style socialism and stripping out its politically unpopular elements and injecting a kind of a right-wing cultural, social, fascist, even racialist. Not even. That is a racialist agenda, and the way he was, and a mercantilism, and.
Do you see what he's doing? He's just like, all of these words that libertarians don't like, I'll say them, and I won't say fucking anything, right? He's mercantilism and white supremacy and racialist and fascist, and there's nothing. You're not even fucking say anything. You're not making a fucking argument, and you're talking to this guy, and he's eating it up. He's like, yeah, I don't like those words. That means that he's bad, and you reaffirm my opinion of this guy.
Able to kind of really trick a very large audience of otherwise sophisticated lovers of freedom into going along with him. And I thought, my God, this guy is...
Nobody's being tricked here, Jeff, okay? Walter Block has not been fooled. I've not been fooled. Lou Rockwell's not been fooled. Stefan Molyneux not been fooled. The people who are fooled are the suckers who are paying you for a subscription to Liberty.me. They're the people who got fucking tricked because you're the one trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. We know exactly what the fuck we're doing. We know exactly what we're doing. You're the one trying to snow people. This is not a scam. It's not a scheme. Well, it is. Don't get me wrong. It is, right? It's politics. You know, there's lies being spread. That's how politics is played. But the libertarians who are getting on board with it are not under any fucking illusions. Go read Walter Block about it. Does Walter Block think that Donald Trump is going to bring about a Rothbardian anarcho-capitalist society? No, it's not the idea. It's that he's better than the alternatives. And if you want to sit here and tell me, oh, we just have to have not a president. Well, fuck you. You know, this is not the way the world works, and we'll get into that.
Brown shirt.
Yeah.
I mean, he may not personally be. I don't know, but
the ideas that he's at least espousing publicly are going that direction.
He's calling on that thing that's always out there, and formulating it in a way that
the silent majority.
Yeah, the silent majority, right? Except it's only a tiny number, it turns out. But what's interesting about that is that I think that libertarians are unaware of this tradition. I mean, we're always scared of the Reds. We know what socialism looks like. When we heard Bernie talk, we're kind of like, that's stupid. Yeah. We're very quick to understand what his tradition and what's wrong with it. But we're less educated about the danger from the right, the brown shirts. Like, we're afraid of the Reds, but the Browns, we don't even... It's like we've lost consciousness of who they are and why they exist and what that...
We have not lost consciousness of who they are or what this is, Jeffrey Tucker, and neither of you. You know exactly what you're doing. And this is why you're the worst. You're the worst fucking one. You know, this guy, when I was supposed to go down to the Anarchapulco thing, you know, he says to Berwick, he's done everything in his power to destroy me. I can't do your event if he's going to be there, right? And then I get canceled at Liberty Fest NYC as well for the same reason. This guy's trying to, ostracize me, keep me from getting gigs. And he says, oh, he's tried to destroy me. Yeah, I have. And I'll fucking keep on doing it too, Jeff, because you're the worst one. You are the worst one. You are not misled. You are not mistaken. You know exactly what you are doing. You know why we have teamed up with right-wingers in the past, because the fucking left is the enemy. The left wing is the enemy, and you are the one repeating all of their race and gender propaganda and advancing their causes, right? A lot of these people just don't know it. A lot of these people don't know it. You know, you get a lot of libertarians really mean well when they're saying racism is bad. They've been told this their whole life. They really don't know any better. I have done this myself, right? I said, oh, that's racist. Don't be racist. Of course I said that. You know, of course, a lot of people say that, and they just don't know any better. Jeff does. He's been through this. He was at the Mises Institute. He knows the tactics of the left, and he adopted them on purpose. Murray Rothbard was a contributor to the National Review. He was a contributor to the National Review, and libertarianism started when he took issue with the foreign policy of the fucking neocons. And yeah, he started a movement that was in many ways separate, but believe me when I tell you, you know, go look into the RK thing, okay? And maybe there's a certain number of people who fall outside of it, but generally speaking, you zoom out and you'll see two distinct groups of people, left and right, and it's a fucking biological phenomenon. And Murray Rothbard was definitely a right-winger. And if there were elements of the right wing, and I don't deny it, which are undesirable, the answer is to defeat them within the right wing, not to go over to the left, which Murray tried to do. Go read Murray Rothbard's time on the left. He says it flat. These people are detached from reality, and they are fucking dangerous.
It looks like. So as a result, Trump has sort of tricked a lot of libertarians. I mean, either trick them into actual support, which is tragic, but I think intellectually there's a problem because people keep being surprised by the things that Trump's saying.
Yeah.
They think he's just saying a series of random nonsense. That's not true. Yeah. I mean, he's drawing from a deep and very successful political tradition of the 20th century.
And I feel like another interesting aspect of it, sort of ironic, is that he's playing on the policy, like, for instance, the state and everything that they've done in the Middle East to create and foment what has become ISIS, which has created this sort of Islamophobia, and then Trump gets to come on and seize on that moment when, again, the problems can be traced back to the state as well.
Yeah, and he never says that, right? I mean, he's very anxious to create scapegoats.
Can you believe that you're hearing the word Islamophobia come out of a supposed libertarian commentator's mouth? Islamophobia. You know, Islam is a set of ideas, you might have heard, you know? Islamophobia. Oh, I actually have. I wonder if I could pull this up real fast. There was the fucking person who coined that term realized recently that it was a really bad fucking idea. Islamophobia. We'll call it Islamophobia, and then that'll have the same effect as calling it homophobia when people aren't into the gays. You know, but Islam, don't get me wrong. Some people are pushing it from the time they're born, and you can make the case that they don't have a whole lot of choices in it. But it's a set of ideas that one chooses to adopt or chooses not to adopt. There's plenty of people used to be Christians, decided to become atheists. Plenty of people used to be any number of different religions who decided to change religions. Islam is a choice. And so this idea that you just assign a fucking phobia to people who have bad fucking ideas, that's ridiculous, you know? What if I just started saying, oh, you're all right-wing-ophobic. I have a belief system and you disagree with it and you don't want it to control your entire society. That means that you have a phobia. You have an irrational fear of a right-wing dictatorship, Jeffrey Tucker. You have right-wing dictatorship phobia. I wonder how that would go over. Probably not very well. But since you're teamed up with left-wing fucking fanatics who are trying to destroy civilization, your nonsense, ridiculous words go off without a hitch with a whole lot of people.
Ever since I was a little boy, I seem to enjoy different things.
Mommy, I think I have a fever. Can you take my temperature? Ooh, Jesus Christ.
As I got older, I found that one boy was never enough.
Hey, there's that queer kid. Let's tackle him.
Hey, yeah, tackle the queer kid.
Yeah.
Let's show you. Queer.
Yeah,
Come on.
Jesus Christ.